Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our info session. So my name is George Cass, and I'm a Senior Scientific Officer at the European Food Safety Authority. And I would like to welcome you to our session on the partnership grant for or partnership call for novel foods. We have quite a busy agenda for the first part, because this session will be made of two parts. First part, which is a presentation of the call, which lasts about an hour, with welcome and housekeeping rules, objectives of the call and tasks to be performed, financial procedures and requirements, a Q&A session where you'll be able to pose your questions and we'll be answering them in the chat. Then we will close the part one, have a coffee break, and there will be part two, partner discovery, but this one is reserved for the Article 36 delegates. And those of you who have Article 36 delegates, you would have received a separate link to connect. More on this during this presentation. If I make next slide, yes, thank you very much. So just a couple of housekeeping rules to get this started. You're automatically connected to the audio broadcast, but it's a one-way audio only, so you can only listen. The event will be in English, and the question should be submitted via the Q&A chat, and they should be submitted in English, please. The whole event will be recorded, and you'll be able to access the event again as it will be published on EFSA's website. And at the end of the event, you will receive a link to a survey to evaluate the EFSA's event and services. So that's all for me for the moment. And I would like to pass the word to my colleague, Rainer Ackerl, who will be telling you more about the call itself and about novel food. See you later. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome also from my side to this webinar on the call for novel foods. As George said, my name is Reinhard Ackerl and I'm also a Senior Scientific Officer at the European Food Safety Authority. Just briefly, what is the European Food Safety Authority? We are the reference body for risk assessment of food and feed in the European Union. And what we do is we provide the scientific basis for laws and regulations to protect the European consumers from food-related risks, from farm to fork, so we cover the whole food chain. And just to emphasize this, that we are not doing any laws or regulations, and we don't authorize anything, but we provide the scientific basis, the scientific advice to the lawmakers. And our headquarters is in Parma, in Italy. Then let's briefly address the question of what a novel food is. And it is simply any food or ingredient that has not been consumed to a significant degree in the European Union before 15th of May 1997. And that may sound odd, but this was the time when the risk managers first came up with the first regulation on novel foods, and they decided that this is the cutoff date, and anything that was on the market before was considered not novel and safe. But from then on, everything would have to be assessed by EFSA. And novel foods can be very heterogeneous. We have put here some examples for you. They could be new compounds, newly synthesized or isolated, like this phenylcapsaicin, this hot stuff from peppers. But there could be also completely new sources, new animals like insects. For sure, you have heard about a number of insects that EFSA has assessed and that are already authorized in the European Union now. Just briefly to mention lycopene, it's a red stuff. It's very abundant in tomatoes, but in this case, it was isolated from a fungus, so it became a novel food. Yeah, and then we have also new processes. Recently, many companies treat stuff with UV light in order to increase the vitamin D content, for example. So they have these are novel foods because they come out of new processes and new technologies. And there is another group of novel foods that are in fact traditional foods in other parts of the world. And we have assessed, as EFSA has looked at that, at those also. So they are not new at all in other areas of the world, but they have not been consumed in the European Union. So there is nothing particularly inherent in the quality of a novel food. It is really just the fact that they have not been consumed in the European Union before May 1997, and this definition continues to apply. So just to mention that we work under very strict legal framework, and we follow a regulation. Then the latest update or the latest regulation is this one in the header from 2015, which applied as from 2018. And on this slide, you see 10 categories of novel foods, and those are specified in the regulation. And as you can see again, what I said before, there's no particular quality of a novel food. It could be anything: plants, animals, of mineral origin, nanomaterials from tissue culture. You can find those descriptions in the regulation. So, and from this slide also, it becomes obvious that the expertise to assess such novel foods is very heterogeneous. Also, to briefly mention the procedure behind the novel food, because a novel food starts not with something from risk managers or with EFSA. A novel food, the whole process is started by food business operators. So food business operators decided they want to sell insects in the European Union. It was not an idea from the Commission or from member states or EFSA even, yeah. So food business operators, they submit a dossier, and they submit a dossier to the European Commission, and the Commission validates the dossier, and they send a question to EFSA to ask EFSA, is this safe, and at which quantities, and for which population groups is it safe or is it not safe? Yeah? And then it arrives to EFSA, and we do some suitability check. But what I need to highlight here is that by law we have 9 months to assess a novel food. So it's a very strict deadline. It's written in the law that by 9 months we have to do this assessment. Luckily, we can ask questions to the applicants, and then these 9 months they stop, so that the clock is not ticking, and we don't lose the time while we wait for new information, new studies. And once we finished the assessment, we come out with a scientific opinion. We publish this scientific opinion, we send it to the risk managers, to the Commission, to the member states, and they, not EFSA, they decide on an authorization. They may authorize for marketing a novel food if EFSA says it is safe. They don't have to, but usually they do. And then the novel foods, they end up in the so-called union list of novel foods, which you can find on the homepage of the Commission. As I mentioned before, the new novel food regulation, it came into force in 2018. And without going into detail of this slide, you can see that from 2018 on, we receive a lot of applications per year, between 35 to 40 applications in various fields, and there's a lot of work. And that is also one of the reasons why we need help from you. We launched a call for a cooperation on the assessment of novel foods. Yeah. Next slide, please. So that's why we are here today. We have launched a call with all the details and also the background, and because we really would like to look for a steady cooperation with a number of partners, and I will just address a few key points regarding the call without going into the details, because you can, or I'm sure you already have read the call. What is particular about this call is that we want to outsource entire novel food dossiers, and so without splitting into individual subsections or individual lots, we would hand over to the partner entire dossiers with all the information, all the studies. And for that, it becomes clear that whoever will do the assessment would need a full range of competencies and expertise, but also the capacity. So of course, also considering the strict deadlines, we would need partners that also have the capacity with a number of staff who can guarantee to do that within the time needed. Yeah. What is also new is that the outcome, the deliverable that will be requested from the partner are more or less complete draft scientific opinions, and it will not be some part, as I mentioned, but it will not be just preparatory work, as it has been the case so far with ongoing cooperations, because it will be possible and needed that you even draft a text of the scientific opinions. Also to highlight, because there's some confusion, the assessment will be done based on data submitted in the dossier by the food business operators. So you would not have to do any laboratory work, no analysis are needed from your side. Yeah. Literature search, yes, maybe, but no work, no lab work needed from the partner. And also another key point, it is also written in the call, we want a limited number of partners, and the formation of consortia is encouraged. It's not obligatory, but as you have seen from the expertise needed, it could be good if partners work together and form consortia. And the advantage is also for you and for us also to have a limited number, because you will have a steady income of novel food dossiers. You can plan better, and we could create a good cooperation. Another key point is that we have foreseen an additional budget for coordination activities. For example, if you intend to form consortia, the partner who is doing the coordination activities, assembling all the parts, the scientific administrative coordination, they would get additional funds. And to conclude this slide, again, to tell you, as you have seen, we have to operate under quite strict timelines. And so in the call, we have written that the partner would have 4 months to submit the first the first draft of the opinion. Yeah. Just once more, with this expertise needed, yes, and consortia and partners. So the partners or the consortia, they need to cover all areas, sections of the novel food dossier. So you would need some chemists and for the compositional section of the novel food, you would need microbiologists. We have many new novel foods are in fact new microorganisms. The manufacturing process is of high relevance, so you would need some experts in biotechnology, in food technology, nutrition. Some novel foods are new sources of nutrients or of vitamins or minerals, and you would need expertise also in that area. Also considering that a novel food would very likely replace some standard food, and you would have to assess whether this could have a disadvantage for the consumers. ADME and TOX usually go together, and in most novel foods, dossiers have TOX data, and you would need to assess those to assess exposure, likely exposure to the novel food. And you would also need some expertise with respect to human studies, many novel food applications also have human studies. I would also like to stress, so just could you go back, just to tell you that novel foods are oftentimes also chemicals or isolated or synthesized. And in general, there are many similarities to the standard chemical risk assessment. So, but we will guide you on that, and there will also be, of course, once we have partners, we will also do some teaching and some onboarding of new partners. And yeah, just briefly to mention the novel food guidance, because all these areas of the expertise needed, they become obvious when you look at the novel food guidance. And this guidance, it describes very well all the sections that need to be covered by the applicants, by food business operators, and there. So all these sections, they need to be assessed individually, and then they come together at the end when concluding on the safety of a novel food. And this brings me to the last slide. Yes, this I took this picture from. You can find it also in the call. Just to here you see the workflow again, and in the point number 3 is when once we have partners, we issue specific agreements for one novel food application. We would sign a specific agreement with you, the partner. It's also called beneficiary, and we would provide you with the dossier then, and then you have 4 months. And under point 6, you will see that the beneficiary initiates a draft of the scientific opinion, but also your responsibility would also be to outline data gaps, because in all novel food applications, there are always some items missing, some things that need clarification. In some cases, even studies are missing, and this would be your role. So you have 2 roles. You have to not only to draft on what you already have, but you also have to identify data gaps. And those questions, so you would formulate questions to the applicants, yeah. And once the applicant got the possibility to reply to those questions, you would also get then the additional information. That's under point 7. And so you would, in the end, you would have a complete set of information of studies, which would allow you, the beneficiary, to finalize the first draft of the scientific opinion. And that's point number 8. And this is a more procedural detail, but we have also a standing working group on novel foods, and we also foresee some interaction. So possibly the beneficiary could be invited to a standing working group on novel foods, but those are more procedural details. Here I wanted to stress that your role would be twofold: to look at all the submitted information, data, studies, identify data gaps, ask questions to the applicant, and provide the first draft of the scientific opinion. And the number 9, so the very end, at the very end of the process, our scientific panel, the NDA panel, which is one of the scientific panels of EFSA, would adopt the scientific opinion. So at the very end of the process, and everything should happen within 9 months, and it always does until now. With this, I finished my overview and stressing the key points of the call, and I would hand over to Lisa, my colleague from the finance team, for the procedural aspects. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I work in the procurement and grants team in EFSA as procurement and grants officer. And I will give you a bit more administrative information on the call. So as you might have seen from the call, we are aiming to sign a maximum of 3 framework partnership agreements. And this will be in cascade. So it would be potentially a cascade of 3, where the highest ranked would receive first the request for service. And an FPA establishes the framework conditions with the partners, so with those signing the agreements, and for the implementation of the future specific grants. And the total budget of the call is 3.5 million. And as you might have seen, this grant will be signed as a financing not linked to cost. And what does that mean? This is a simplified form of grant contribution, where the actual payment will be linked to the achievement of the results set in the grant agreement. So this is different from the classical type of grants, where the reimbursement is for eligible costs and for the time worked. So here we focus more on the result of the deliverable and the quality of the deliverable. And for the application, this being a financing not linked to cost, there will be no need from your side to submit a financial proposal. We only ask a technical proposal from your side, because the amount paid by EFSA is fixed already in the call for each task. And the duration of the framework partnership agreements will be 48 months. And as Reinhard also mentioned, the applications in consortium are not mandatory, but they are very welcome for reasons that Reinhard mentioned before. And if we go to the next slide. So the call has been launched in the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal, which is a portal of the European Commission, where they publish all their grant and also procurement opportunities. And the deadline for proposals for this call is the 22nd of November. And we will not accept offers in hard copy paper applications. So only this tool, the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal, is the one that should be used. And we will only accept offers received via that tool by the 22nd of November. And I also would like to highlight that this tool includes a feature allowing for the search of partners. So if you are interested to collaborate with other organizations, you can include in this tool a search that you are looking for partners and what type of partners. We just want to highlight there that this tool run by the Commission, it's not targeted for EFSA. So as grant applications in EFSA can only be accepted from applicants on the list of competent organizations, the so-called Article 36 organizations. This feature search tool in the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal will not sort out any applicants who are actually not on this list. So we just advise you to be a bit careful, because you might receive a lot of interest, but please check carefully the organizations that are interested in collaborating with you, because of course you can only collaborate with those on the list of competent organizations. And this was everything from my side, and I leave the word again to George.